Welcome back to Excel, a mental evolution podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. Seth Rose, and today is episode 20, where we are talking about the E in building your shield of high-performing brain habits. The E stands for exercise and its impact on cognition. And I want to preface this episode by saying that I am not a certified strength and conditioning coach. I'm not in the strength and conditioning field. I'm in the human performance field, so I understand its effect on high performance. I'm not a trainer or personal trainer. That was a past Seth life before I got into mental performance. I am a certified mental performance consultant. And like I said, I want to preface all this by saying that if you have any questions regarding programming or getting on a program or strength training or fitness or exercise, I really highly suggest that you go see somebody like a strength coach, maybe at your job or your place of employment, or search out locally. Usually gyms, you can find tons of them. So let's talk about exercise and how it enhances our cognition. So we know that exercising for 30 to 45 minutes at a moderate intensity for about 3 days a week can really enhance cognition. Now, what is a moderate intensity? For those who train with heart rate and zones, moderate is usually around like zone 2. So you're not like huffing and puffing, but it's something that you can sustain aerobically for a longer period of time. For my endurance athletes out there, this is kind of like zone 2 is kind of like if you were to go out for a jog and you can sing the ABCs without it feeling like you're struggling to talk or say it or gasping for air or those sort of things. So this type of aerobic activity elicits the greatest positive change that we see in different brain states. However, we know that strength training is super beneficial as well. And we'll talk about some maybe examples of types of workouts that might be beneficial. But physiologically, we know that neurons are going to function better and grow in key areas in the brain that lead to improved cognition. We know that exercise is a critical habit for elite cognition and also protecting the brain over longer careers. So let's talk about some of the neurochemical factors that exercise has on the brain. The first being that when you exercise, there's going to be a dump in a neurochemical called BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And this is a growth factor that helps with things like learning and memory and creativity and skill acquisition and neuronal growth and neuroplasticity, or changing of the brain. Some call BDNF like miracle grow for the brain, and we just see that being like a major component that gets dumped after a bout of exercise. Serotonin is another neurochemical that is released to enhance different mood states and aids in sleep later on in the day. We also see dopamine is being released after this, which is that feeling of reward or accomplishment, which then increases your motivation to get that same feeling again. So you're motivated to continue to work out consistently. Dopamine is also a big factor for those who maybe experience sort of that like workout high or that buzz feeling that you have, or that runner's high after a great long workout or run, in combination with another neurochemical like epinephrine, neuroepinephrine, and different types of endorphins that we might feel. So these sort of chemicals make us feel awake. They make us have a heightened sense of attention and alertness. and which then those things are going to help with, like memory on the back end, because you were able to actually pay attention in the moment. Now, let's talk about actual brain structure. We know that exercise is going to help increase more neurons, so it's going to increase your brain volume, which is also really great. And then various different parts of the brain are going to help with improving and building more neurons in those sections, which then hypothetically, theoretically, will help with the certain components that are impacted by those brain structures. So the first one being the hippocampus. This is where memory consolidation and encoding happens. So that's super important, obviously. Our prefrontal cortex, this is where we deal with complex cognitive tasks and decision making, and maybe also our ability to make better decisions potentially. And then our temporal lobe, this is where we are able to recognize different images. We can recognize language and speak different languages. And so just a brief synopsis, no pun intended, of the different brain areas that might improve. So we know that also exercise is going to increase the number of new neurons that you have, but more research is coming out that if you combine physical training with mental training, which is what I do, we see that mental training is going to increase the number of neurons that actually survive. So what does mental training look like? That could be breath work, that could be mindfulness, that could be mindfulness-based attention training, that could be sustained attention and focus training, that could be imagery and visualization, that could be various types of cognitive restructuring, such as like confidence and self-talk, and how you're speaking to yourself and reframing and those sort of things. If you have more questions about what the different types of mental training is, just let me know, and I can certainly guide you in that. As far as recommendations, as simple as that 30 to 45 minute of moderate intensity can be super beneficial, but maybe you don't have time for that and you have only 20 minutes for a brisk walk. That is totally fine as well. There have been studies that show brisk walking before meetings to help improve creativity, brainstorming sessions, etc. But yeah, I think that's where I'm going to stop. I've talked enough. Obviously, I love exercise. It's been a big part of my life, but even more so how interesting it is on its impact on cognition. Thanks for sticking around, and we'll catch you next time.